As the week unwinds, more and more headlines popping up around the football world. Perhaps the biggest story right now centers around the Spanish Federation and Luis Rubiales, who is now under a FIFA Commission investigation regarding, of course, the kiss on Jenny Hermoso and his general behavior as Spain won the Women's World Cup over the weekend, Sarah. The Federation are considering perhaps ousting him, maybe as early as Friday. Hermoso came out with a statement with the Players' Union as well, talking about how she thought the behavior was very inappropriate, she didn't like it, and she is backing whatever is decided by the Players' Union and the Players' Association. I don't know how this guy survives this at this point. And then maybe there'll be a trickle-down effect to the coach of the women's team as well. But overall, a whole unsavory and unnecessary situation overshadowing was a famous World Cup win.
Yeah, I keep thinking about that as the week has progressed. You know, it's Thursday now. They won for us early Sunday morning. But the story has just been this ongoing, unfortunate situation with Rubiales and obviously the Spanish players, including Hermoso. But to me, it's just, I can't imagine how some of the players must be feeling, thinking they're waking up every day, they're checking their phones, and again, this is not to say that this isn't a big issue, because this is a very serious issue, but it is so frustrating that it's taken away from the football. But yes, it looks like the only thing that the Spanish Federation has to do is get rid of Rubiales. I cannot see him coming back from this. I can't see Spain wanting to deal with this. We've spoken about how the Prime Minister has spoken out. Now we know Hermoso has spoken out, which earlier in the week we thought that she had spoken out and said they were friendly, this was fine, and then we thought, all right, put it to bed. If she's okay with it, if this is their relationship, we don't know what's going on, but it's done a complete 180. And yeah, I mean, at this point, this is the only thing they can do. They can't allow this kind of behavior. And I don't think they want to be, looked at as this federation that has already had so many ongoing issues. You have World Cup winners in the house right now, and some of the best football played in the world on both the men and the women's. Get them out of there.
Clean house, absolutely.
Clean it up.
The very fact that allegedly they fabricated Hermoso's statement post-celebration about the kiss.
That's scary.
That alone should cost jobs.
Yeah.
And there could be a lawsuit involved.
I want to know more about that, because we spoke about that, and I want to know who said this, who released it. It was on her socials. Like, how did we, who, was it on her socials? Sorry, I said that and I'm not actually quite sure.
I don't think it's her socials.
But
no,
it was said,
Spain's Federation socials.
Yeah, it was quoted. Yeah, exactly. Who put that out there? If that was not the case, then there's so many intricate little lies that are going on, and it looks so bad. Like, you can't go around speaking for someone, especially on an issue that is this severe.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to cut off the head of the snake, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, the players, both men and women at this point, who are on the cusp of a dynasty, perhaps. The women are, certainly. Yeah. The men are a pretty good team as well. Yeah. There's a lot of good things at the national level in Spanish football right now. For them to be just mired and overshadowed by the poor leadership at the very top, they've got a clean house. Sounds awfully familiar. Let's be honest here. Next up, Toni Kroos, Sarah.
Hey!
Toni Kroos is an absolute legend, isn't he?
We love Toni Kroos. I mean, there's so much class about him as a footballer. I mean, the way he just shows up on the pitch, but I think also he's one of those guys that when you speak to him, he has so much poise and he's such a respectable player. But yeah, he basically came out. Fabrizio Romano, the one and only we know, posted on Instagram saying, "Here we go," talking about Gabri Veiga's move from Celta de Vigo to al-ahli in Saudi Arabia, of course. And as you can see on the bottom there, Toni Kroos commented on the post on Instagram saying, "Embarrassing." So backstory here, Gabri Veiga, 21-year-old U21 Spanish international, played for Celta de Vigo, 11 goals last season for Celta, mid-table La Liga team, but you're 21. That's great, showing a lot of talent for the national team as well. The future is his, right?
Mm-hmm.
Goes and decides to join al-ahli in Saudi Arabia. Toni Kroos is saying what we all wanted to say. It's coming to the point, though, now, James. I think the bigger picture here is the Saudi Arabian League are now getting real serious and cracking down on signing young players.
This to me is a bigger story in many ways than
100%.
Neymar and some of these other huge names they've signed in recent years, because he is one of the very much for the future, right? Now, playing devil's advocate, though, right?
Sure.
He's 21. he can go where he wants. He's allowed to, right? He can go over there for a couple of years, make a lot of money, a ton of money, and then he's still young enough to come back and play in a legitimate European league. So I see that. But also coming from this is very much, which I'm very happy about, is that Toni Kroos is clearly not going to be going to Saudi Arabia anytime soon, because he's just the kind of player that they've been targeting over recent months. So that's one player essentially saying, not for me, I'm not going there. So good for him. But for the player himself, you wonder the advice he's getting from his agent, from his family, the money being, you can understand why he'd have his head turned. But let's hope he comes back at some point to a real European powerhouse league, because he is a very good player.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, what I'm concerned about is that he's young, but he needs development, and that's what, like, in a country like Spain, you can go through the ranks and really come through as a top class player. I'm curious to see, though, now, like, this is such a turning point. You're 21. What are the next few years going to look like if you go to Saudi, and how is your football going to develop? Because it's not going to be as good as if you were in the top 5. That's
Well, we'll see, right? I mean, listen,
I refuse to believe that.
no, I kind of side with you there, but the amount of money they're spending behind the scenes too, right? This isn't just, buy the biggest names and make some noise. They want to build something, right? And they're investing so much money in these clubs at the academy level as well eventually. So we'll see what happens there. See, Laporte has left Man City for Saudi Arabia as well. Another one.
Aymeric Laporte. Yeah, this one is, it's not as shocking, I guess, but still, Aymeric Laporte, we're talking defender for Man City, defender for the Spanish national team. This is a pretty good defender you got going. How old is Aymeric Laporte, actually? I'm going to check.
He's not too old. He's
I
in his prime, very much so.
So he's 29.
Didn't play too much last year.
No, I think that's one of the reasons why, maybe. But, I mean, same thing as Neymar. Like, you have these players that are kind of, they could still play, like, several years in the top flight, and now we're seeing them choose this. And it's just, it is getting a bit scary, though, just how many players are going. Sorry, Gabri Veiga. I still won't be watching the Saudi League. It still hasn't, like, that's the thing. It still hasn't persuaded me enough to want to watch it yet.
Will that point come, do you think?
I mean,
is it inevitable?
I think it might be inevitable, because we're talking about such an amount of money that we can't even fathom the thought. Like, that's the thing. They have no concern for money. And because of that, we're going to see them, probably, like we've spoken about, coming to the Champions League, kind of get intertwined with Europe, the FIFA Club World Cup and all of that. So I think they're gonna make their way in, even if we try not to. Even if we don't watch the Saudi League, we're gonna see them in, like, the UCL probably at one point, right?
Yeah, well, that's a tough one, because they're part of Asia.
Yeah.
Right, but they want to get into UEFA and money talks. I say this, it's a bit like the circus coming to town, right? You're kind of like, look at this. There's elephants and lions.
Yeah.
And there's a clown with the big feet. Hate clowns, by the way.
Hate them.
But what I find interesting is the Club World Cup,
yeah,
right, in 2024. Likely they'll be invited, at least one of those teams, maybe more than one, to that tournament. I might watch a team, if Al Nassr, for example, with Ronaldo, is playing against Real Madrid, Barcelona, I might watch that. Just out of pure morbid curiosity. Like, wow, let's just have a look at this. That might be the turning point.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of, forget the emotional element of this, forget the ethical element of this. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
When you're seeing all these guys being thrown in teams and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, speaking about that, really quickly before we jump to our next one, Benzema playing for al-ahli. Oh, you know what? That's terrible.
Is it halal?
Al-halal.
Listen, it's understandable.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Their coach, Nuno Espirito Santo.
Yeah, champions.
Well, apparently, Santo didn't want to sign Benzema, didn't see him fitting into his formation. Now they're having issues. He didn't want to give Benzema the captain's ban. He still doesn't really know what to do with this guy, and apparently Benza's now uncomfortable at the team.
Who's going to win that battle?
I mean, it has to be Kareem.
Yeah, hey. Nuno, get your resume out there.
Yeah, Nuno to say something. Like, we're talking about Benzema. Like, that's crazy to me.
Well, maybe Nuno's got a big old contract there, right? I'm sure he has.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really want to stay there for too much longer, and he can force an out by pissing off the star striker, and get a nice severance.
There you go.
Good move, Nuno.
Sorry, it's al-Ittihad, by the way.
How could you get that wrong?
I'm sorry.
At least I got the Al Nassr one right with Ronaldo, right?
Yeah, that's the only one.
Still prefer Al Ettifaq. Still my favorite one. Okay, Here's one for you. So Carlo Ancelotti's been talking about Real Madrid, saying there's no more signings this window, no chance, which essentially rules out any chance of Kylian Mbappe joining Real Madrid.
Hello.
For now.
Yeah.
Until January or next year, of course. They spent a lot of money. Jude Bellingham arrived, and it's been absolutely lights out so far. What a player. But I'm kind of happy that maybe we can turn our attention away from Mbappe for a few months.
Until like August 31st hits
ticking.
that, 12 a.m.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I don't trust anyone. Like, the transfer window is only, it gets crazier and crazier as it gets closer to the close of it. So I think this is put to bed, but I will not trust it because it's also Mbappe, who every transfer window resurfaces. I don't know what's going to happen. But you know what? If he went to Real Madrid, it would have been a great signing for them. We know the capability Mbappe has. We know how good of a team Real Madrid has. I think it would have been great, but at the same time, I kind of respect Real Madrid for putting their foot down, especially after what Mbappe did last summer. And they're kind of like, we really like where we are. We're not going to spend all that on you. He's also free next season, and it seems like he's staying at PSG. So, why not just wait the year? Because also then Ancelotti's gone. We know that. So, bit of a rebuilding, but do it all at once.
And they can still win this year, right? Barca's in a little bit of shambles.
Oh, yeah,
right?
We have 700 injuries, so
Yeah,
perfect.
right. She joined the club last summer. Do you know that?
Cheers, trainer. I'm the towel girl.
But, I mean, they can still win. There's a good chance they might win the league without him. So, you're right. It's a great point. Wait till he's available for free. Unless he re-signs with PSG, which, again,
what's happening with that? Because he also wasn't even called up to the squad for the game over the weekend. Like, what is going on with Kylian Mbappe? The ongoing saga.
We should do a sponsor segment every day about that.
God, no kidding.
Ellie, can you put up the board one more time? Let's take a look at the other headlines here. What do we have left here? We're running out of time. Oh, okay. Messi assists twice. As Inter Miami win on penalties to reach U.S. Open Cup final, beating a very good Cincinnati yesterday, 3-3. Didn't score a goal. Is there a decline in Messi's
get
performance?
Out of here. Let me show you what Messi did, giving two absolute peach of a pass for Campana. This was the second goal. Get out of town, and he gets it right in there. I mean, he's serving it on a plate for this guy at
What's
this
the
point.
defender doing?
Show
some effort.
Sleeping. To be honest, though, I will say, because we spoke about this match yesterday, and you were saying that Cincinnati will probably get through. There's no doubt that Cincinnati were the better team. Miami, as a whole, looked tired. I'm not even talking about Messi. I mean, Alba, Busquets for sure, but Martinez wasn't 100. Him and Taylor only came on in the second half. We saw Kramashi get in the second half. They did play a bit of a rotation, and they looked exhausted. My thoughts for this is that, I mean, he's not tired. He can't stop.
but Red Bull this weekend.
Yes, so that's the thing.
time?
The final of the U.S. Open Cup isn't until September 27th. Okay, perfect. Back burner for now. So they're going back into MLS. I don't think you start any of those three, Messi, Jordi, or Busquets. But we were kind of talking about the fact that imagine all these fans. Like, is there going to be a chance that Messi maybe gets the start or comes on? Probably, because they're playing in New York, and now the Messi circus has to continue in MLS.
I tell you, if I said to you off camera, if you've spent $2,000, $5,000 on a ticket to see one player in a sporting match, sporting game, you're an idiot, because anything can happen in sports, right? They could get injured. We saw David Beckham come to Toronto so many times and not play, right? It serves you right. I think it's hilarious in that case. And I think you're right. I think you do rest them at this point. Put them on the bench.
Yeah.
Let's see what this team can do without the stars, how they've really grown. Like I said, 14 points back of a playoff spot, right? They're not going to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's going to happen no matter what Messi does.
Well, I mean, they're in another final. Like, they might get their second trophy.
That's more important.
Yeah. And also, they're playing New York, which is not a great team this season either. Maybe you're right. Test out what the team can do without these guys again. At least keep them on the bench, because they're exhausted.
Keep it tight and then bring on the stars.
Messi, 80 minutes. All right, give him 10 to score the goal. Fine, wrap it up. Happy days.
Football. Silly old game. All right, this has been Headlines. Back again tomorrow. Room 442 is brought to you by North Star Bets. That's a win.